Hello again. Now then, she's one of the world's most talked about women, but the public really gets to see the private face of Joan Collins. All this week, an exclusive TVAM interview, you can get to know the woman behind Alexis Carrington. And in this part, Anne asked what the real Joan Collins is like.
And I mean, I'm quite flamboyant, and my son said I'm a bit eccentric. He said I shall be an eccentric, dotty old lady when I'm 70. So I said, well, all right, I'll be Lady Diana Cooper, I don't mind that.
What about the Joan Collins at home? I mean, do you ever worry that your husband will always be Mr. Collins, that your children will be the daughters or the sons of Joan Collins, you know, not people in their own right?
Oh, no, not at all. First of all, my husband is never Mr. Collins. He's a very strong and assertive man, and he's definitely Mr. Home. I mean, I need a strong man. I mean, that is, I couldn't bear to have a man who was sort of a doormat wimp, who liked to be Mr. Collins. I mean, if people do call Peter Mr. Collins, which they do sometimes, and usually in foreign countries, he laughs. I mean, he thinks it's funny. And my children, I try to keep as much as possible. I have tried to keep them away from the public eye. Luckily, none of them want to be actors or actresses, and they're going to make it on their own. They have different surnames from me, which is good. And they're not great fans of the press or being photographed, and I think they've made it quite clear that they want to keep away from that lifestyle and that life. So that's what I try to respect.
What do you like at home?
What do I like?
No, what are you like?
Oh, what am I like? I rip off all my clothes as soon as I get in, put on my black stockings and garter belt and chauffeur's hat.
Do you do the opposite? Do you put on the apron and do the cooking occasionally?
No, I actually do relax a lot at home. I mean, I do sort of put on the tracksuit or the terry cloth robe, and I like to potter in the kitchen, but basically I like to just flake out on a sofa with the telly on and books, magazines, talk on the phone, and just potter. I'm a tremendous potter. I'll go around pottering. I'm always sort of rearranging the flowers. I'm arranging the ashtrays, and I'm looking at the books and thinking, wouldn't it be better if all the red books were on that side and the blue books were that side, and then I could put those pictures of the children there. And Peter was saying, why don't you relax? I said, I am relaxed. This is my relaxation.
You're playing in your mind.
I'm a frustrated interior decorator, actually.
Are you?
Yes.
What does your home look like?
It looks like somebody who's a frustrated interior decorator. I'm very affected by my surroundings. It's very important for me to be surrounded by the things that I love. Plants, pictures, objets, nice paintings. It really is very, very important to me. I like order and tidiness. I live in such chaos. You know, we work on a studio soundstage, which is the ugliest place in the world, as you know, except for that little corner that happens to be lit at the time. So I'm always tripping over cables and sitting in an old chair, and there's great big bins full of trash, and we're drinking coffee out of styrofoam cups and plastic spoons. It's just the total opposite of what the public think. It is totally, totally, totally unglamorous. So I like to live with a certain amount of style and a certain amount of charm and a certain amount of good looks around me in my home. So my home looks pretty good, I must say. My dressing room is awful. I mean, it's about the size of this sofa.
There's nothing wrong with that. This sofa is enormous.
It is true, it is, yes.
Let me tell you, actually, that you're going to be seeing 18, we're really spoiling you rotten, 18 different views of Joan Collins, 18 clips of interviews throughout the week, and an awful lot of interesting stuff coming from that interview.
Dead right. Now, Russell Grant.
I'm sorry, Bill. What can I say? Go on, piss on. But get a grip, yeah? Scout on. Put it back. What can I do for you, my love? You'll never learn, will you, eh?
So that's Thursday's television, and, well, it's the whole week's television, because we'll be back on Friday.
Can I just explain, though, if anyone thought they heard something rude in that clip, they did. We'd actually tried to sort of nip it out, but obviously it hadn't gone quite right.
Well, they did it wrong, didn't they?
Well, I wasn't going to put it quite that harshly, Jim, but yes, no, I mean, our intentions were good. That's what I wanted to say.
Our intentions were good, but our bleeped itself
Yeah.
down the wrong corridor.
Actually, the funny thing is, if you hadn't have highlighted it, no one would have noticed it.
Well, I don't
bet
know.
on that.
People notice rude words, don't they?
Well, it's hardly a rude word, is it? I mean, I'm going for one after we get off this couch.
Oh dear, James, impeccable, and what else can we call him?
I don't think we should let him leave this couch
No.
for quite a while.
No, God,
He'll be glued to the couch. James, we'll introduce you and all our viewers once again to a lady of whom many rude words actually have been written, half of them not earned, or most of them not earned. I'm talking, of course, about our exclusive interviews with Joan Collins. Joan's screen character, Alexis Carrington, has made many enemies, let's face it, but in real life, Joan told Anne there was only one group of people she just couldn't stand, the press. She feels she's been misrepresented by them, and Anne asked if there was anything that could be done about this image.
Somebody has got to take a stand somewhere or another and say, for goodness sake, stop writing that stuff, and I wish that the British people would not read it and believe it. I mean, because most of it is garbage, written by scum.
I mean, it was a huge front page, that one about you having cancer.
I know.
Is any of that true?
Absolutely not. No, I had a sinus operation 3 years ago in England, which I did not take an ad in the trades about, and somebody had said, oh, Joan Collins was having this operation 3 years ago, so they went and said, what is it? And then they made it all up. What sort
of effect did that have on your family? Because, I mean...
Well, of course, they were all rather concerned. I had to spend a lot of money on long-distance calls. No, it's not true. No, calling my brother. No, tell them it's not true. I'm fine. But obviously, these sort of things do have an effect on people, and particularly something like that could be detrimental to one's career. But you see, what gets me is that because the power of the press is something that is never questioned, and they can now, in Italy, for example, Italy, they just totally fabricate the most ludicrous stories. They made up a beauty the other day. The man who was in the center of a love fight between Linda Evans and Joan Collins.
And who was that meant to be?
That was my husband, Peter, who hardly knows Linda. We see her socially, but they had made up all these stories about how they meet secretly, how he comes on the set and hangs around with... it was so unbelievable, and a composite picture. And in Italy, it's not even bothered to be picked up here because they know that in certain magazines there, they just make it up.
What happens to you when you read that? I mean, did you take him aside and say, is it true?
No, I knew it wasn't true. There's no reason. I know Peter. I think when you know your man well enough, you know what's true and what's not true. That was just a fabrication, just as there are so